So hi, this is a video for Chapter 8 Views and Schema for IT 221, and I'm going to show you how to create schemas, how to create different kinds of views, explain when a view is updatable. We'll talk about the check option, and then we'll create a materialized view. And again, I suggest you read the chapter because what I'm going to do is a little bit less than what's in the chapter. I'm going to move this over where I can read it while I work. I'm going to go to PG Admin 4. I'm going to close this. I've already saved it. And I'm going to close this too. And then we're going to open up a new query tool. Okay, so schemas are about ownership. So when you look at Community Assist over here, you have a schema, and we have one schema which is public. And in that public are all the tables. You can have more schemas. So schemas are really good for organizing things according to different needs. So we could do a schema. I'm going to just do a create schema, and we're going to call it employee schema. Okay, and when I do this, notice it's successful, and if I refresh schemas, there's now two schemas. There's an employee schema and a public schema. And inside of this there are all these different elements that you would have in all of them. We don't have any tables yet, and we don't have any views, but we will create some. So a schema is basically creating a collection for ownership. And you could do like employee schema, you could do donation schema, you could do grant schema if you want. You can break these things up, and then it makes it easier so that not everything is in the public schema. So let's talk about views. Views are basically stored queries. Generally, views do not store the data, they just store the query. The data, it comes from the table. There's one exception that we'll talk about later. Views are ways of looking at it. They're called views because they represent ways of looking at the data. Of looking at views of. Okay. So let's create a view. First we'll create a view that goes to the employee schema. So if you don't add a schema to it, it just goes to the public. But we're going to create view employee. Let's call it employee view. Except in order to go to the schema, what we need to do is say employee schema dot employee view. Okay, so this is the beginning of a view. As I said, basically it is just a stored query. So here is the employee view as, there's always an as in this, and then we're going to say select employee key. We're going to do person last name as last name, person first name as first name, person email as email, and then we want to do position name as what do we want to call it? as job. Let's just give it a position. And we might as well give it, so we need commas here. And we might as well give it a, the position start date as start date. Let me look at the actual tables here. So when we do job position, employee position, columns, employee position, start date. Okay. So employee key is going to be in a lot of these. So I'm going to do employee.employee key. So we have to do some joins. I'm going to say from person. And I'm going to join employee. And I'm going to do the using person key. Just a little easier. And I'm going to join employee position. Using employee key. And join job position. Using position key. Okay, so this is our view, and I'm going to create this view. Let's see what we got. Job position using position key. Oh, I spelled it wrong. Person email does not exist because I spelled it wrong. Let's see if I spelled anything else wrong. There it goes. Oh, that's the select, that's not the view. You can do that. You can run the select to make sure you got what you want. I'm going to run the view. Did I not run? Create, I wrote it, but I didn't run it. So I'm going to create the schema. Actually, I did. Employee schema. Again, spelling. Okay, so it returned it. So now if we look into an employee schema up here, so we have public, we also have employee schema. And if we refresh views, we'll see that we do have a view, employee schema. You can treat a view just like a table. So I'm going to do select star from employee schema dot employee view. So again, this is how you specify that it's not in the public schema. What did I call it? I have 3 E's in there. This is not a morning for typing. I'm going to copy this. and then it will work. Okay, so that's a lot of bad typing, but so schemas are ways of organizing things or ownership, and this is how you say that something belongs to it. A view is a way of looking at data. We could build a whole lot of views here, and the chapter does. I'm not going to for this video. What I'm going to do is we'll talk about when a view is updatable. What an updatable view means is that it can be, you can insert, update, and delete through the view. All right. In order for that to be true, it can't have any joins, and it can't have any, basically it can't have any kind of complexities. So let's do just person address. So I'm literally going to just do select, create view. We'll add it to the employee schema too. Just I'm going to call it address view. Okay, as select, and what I'm going to do is just list all the fields in address, person address. So we come down to person address, columns. So I'm going to do person key. The other thing is you can't alias these. Person address street. Person address city. Person address state. Person address zip code. And then person address apartment. Okay, I'm going to change the name of this a little bit, so because I'm going to do where person address city. Equals Seattle. Okay, so that will be our view. So up here I'm going to change this to Seattle address view. Okay. So we're going to create this view, and it's going to show you all the people that live in Seattle. Person key exists. Why does it say? Oh, I also need to do person address key anyway. We actually need that in there. Person key. Oh, you know why? Because I didn't do from person address. I haven't had enough coffee yet today. Alright, so this will make a view. And again, if we look in our up here, into views, if I refresh this, we have two views, and we have the Seattle address view. So there's a couple of things I want to show you here. So let's run the view. Select star from employee schema. dot Seattle address view. And it shows us all of this. Let's say we want to. One other thing I wanted to show you about the one up here. Notice how we have all those aliased. Those are the aliases are what show up here. The other thing that I want to show you about the earlier one before we do the Seattle address view is I have to say select last name, first name, email. All right, from this has the weird misspellings. You can't use the underlying field names. You have to use the aliases. That's actually really good for hiding things. So it is, you know, it's another way of securing the database because they can't see the underlying table and they can't see the underlying table fields. All right, so we're moving back up to the this updatable view. Let's do an update. So I'm going to run this again. So you can do an insert through here too. I guess let's do a couple of inserts. This will totally screw up the data in the database, but so I am going to say insert into employee schema, Seattle address view. And we're going to add an address. So I'm going to person key, person address, street. I'm going to press enter. Person address city. Person address zip code. I'm actually going to back these up. And person address apartment. All right, so we're going to insert through the view. Oh, and I need to give it values. So I am going to give it person is just going to be 1. We're going to delete it when we're done. Person address street is 100 South Main for whatever reason. State will be Washington. Actually, city, it's going to be Seattle. And then the state will be Washington. And the zip code will just be whatever. And the apartment will just make null. All right, so if I do this, it should allow for the insert through the view. Doesn't like person address. What is the actual? It's just person address street. Person, address, street. Oh, I have it twice. Definitely don't want to do these videos when I haven't had enough color. Column, city, person, address, city. All right, so we have one for the person key. We have an address. We have a city. We have a, I didn't put the state in there. Yay, it did it. So after you correct all of the errors, it will insert through there. And we can do this a couple of ways. One, we can select star from employee schema, Seattle address view. And if we look at it at the bottom, see, it only shows the people that are in the address. And if we look at the very bottom, there will be the one we just added. Okay. We can also delete from that. We'll also, just to show you, if I do is select star from person address. So from the table itself. Again, if we go to the very bottom, we will find that address. It's actually written to the table itself. So we inserted a new address through the table. We can also do delete from, and we can delete through the view. So delete from employee schema address view. Where person address key equals 203. And it will delete from there, and it will no longer be, let's just go to the actual person address table. It will be gone. 203 will be gone. Okay, so as long as the view is really simple, you can do this. But what happens if we do an insert? And I'm going to insert something very similar, except that I am going to change, the only thing I'm going to change is Bellevue. Okay, so I'm going to run this, and it is successful. And when I do a select from the schema, we would go down there and we see that we can't see it. And the reason we cannot see it is that the view only shows Seattle addresses, but we did Bellevue. It allows the Bellevue because it's an updatable, insertable view, but we cannot see Bellevue in the actual view because it will only show Seattle addresses. There's a way to adjust this, and it's with the check option. So we're going to add a with check option. And I'm just looking here. So I'm going to do I'm going to drop let's try create or replace view employee schema Seattle address view. All right. And I'm going to copy all of this. And I'm going to say with check option. Okay. So let's run this again. So that is successful. It now has the check option. I'm going to do the same address again. We'll change the city to Kent. When I run it this time, I'll get an error. Okay, it violates the check option because it has to be Seattle. All right. So you can guarantee that you can only enter things into the view that you can see in the view if you add with the check option. Okay, I'm going to show one other thing. So views are always just stored queries, except when you create a materialized view. And a materialized view is a view that actually stores the data. They can be useful for speeding up queries in like a really busy database like Amazon, for instance. You could do a materialized view that shows all of the products. The only trouble with a materialized view is that because they are stored data, they are not necessarily current with the underlying tables. You have to update them frequently to keep them accurate. All right, so I'm going to create a materialized view. Create materialized view. You just use the word materialized view. Need to give it a name. I'm going to put it in employee schema also. And I'm going to call it top donors as, and we'll just do select person first name as first name, person last name as last name, person, let's just do donation date, and donation amount, all right, from person, join donation using donation key, actually using person key, it's relating person, and then we will order by donation account. couple of things to know is that order by is not legal in a lot of views. But it is allowed in Postgres. I'm going to limit it to 10. And I'm going to add with data, which will make it loaded with data. So I'm going to create a materialized view. Okay, that one worked right through the thing. So if I select star from employee schema dot top donors, create or replace. This isn't what I should be getting. What am I? What did I just get? Oh, so there are 10 things here. We need to add descending. See if it'll do that. I changed it to trace or replace. All right, it won't do create or replace. So let's do, I'm going to drop. I'm not sure if I have to say materialized view. Okay, so it's gone. So let's recreate it with the correct. Okay, now if we run it, it should give us the highest. Yeah, it gives us the top 10 highest donors. All right. So let's do insert into donation. We're going to make a higher donor. We're going to make somebody do, so we're going to add a donation. So we need a person key. Let's look at donation. Person key, donation amount, donation date. We don't actually need, we just need the amount. It'll add the date and all of that. So I am going, oops, no semicolon. Values. So we want a person key. Let's say Jerry Smith wants to go in there. So I don't know what Jerry Smith's person key is. I'm just going to put in a 3. I don't know who that person is. We'll delete it afterwards. And I'm going to do 10,001. Okay, so it'll be $1 more. Should do it. Okay, so now if we do a select star from, and we'll do it from our employee schema. Well, let's just run it up here. It doesn't show up, right? Because this is not live data. It is in the database, but it isn't in our materialized view. So in order to get it into our materialized view, we need to have a different command, which is refresh materialized view. And the name. So if we refresh it and then we run it again, we get our 10,001. We get our second. So Jamal Jacobs is the one that did it. Okay, I would probably delete that from the database, but I'm going to let that be the thing on views. It's a bit incoherent because I haven't had enough coffee. I shouldn't have done it until I had more coffee, but I'm going to let it stand. Read the chapter. You'll get a lot more information from the chapter. So